The antique watch lay nestled in a red velvet case, its bronze finish tarnished with time. Yet there was a strange allure in its tiny, intricate hands and worn, delicate engravings. Amelia couldn't shake the feeling as she held it. A peculiar chill settled over her, as if something long forgotten had just been awakened. She glanced around the empty antique shop, feeling watched, even though she was entirely alone. As she walked out, slipping the watch into her coat pocket, a faint ticking noise filled the quiet. But when she stopped and pulled the watch out, her heart dropped. The hands were moving, backward. Amelia Thornton was a woman in her 30s, a freelance writer living in a cozy, cluttered apartment on the outskirts of town. The walls of her living room were adorned with framed articles and photographs, each telling a story of her wanderlust and love for the written word. Despite her seemingly vibrant exterior, Amelia often felt lost in the echoes of her solitude. The recent loss of her grandmother weighed heavily on her heart. They had shared a bond deeper than mere blood. Her grandmother had been her guiding star, the one who encouraged her to pursue her dreams, and now Amelia felt adrift in a world that seemed a little dimmer without her presence. In search of inspiration for her next article, Amelia decided to visit a local antique shop that had recently come under the radar for its peculiar collection. It was a quaint place, dimly lit, with the scent of aged wood and forgotten memories lingering in the air. Dust motes danced in the light filtering through the frosted windows, casting an ethereal glow over the artifacts that lined the shelves. Each piece seemed to have a story, and Amelia felt an irresistible pull toward the stories embedded in these forgotten treasures. As she wandered through the narrow aisles, her fingers traced the cool surfaces of tarnished silverware and faded photographs. Yet, nothing captivated her like the antique watch she would later buy. The watch was positioned on a small table, overshadowed by larger, more extravagant pieces. It seemed almost out of place, yet it called to her. Perhaps it was the craftsmanship, the way the intricate engravings spiraled into elegant patterns, or maybe it was the mystery behind its age. Just as she reached for the watch, the shopkeeper emerged from the shadows. His name was Mr. Ellis, a man whose face bore the wrinkles of time itself. His eyes, a striking blue, held a glint of knowledge and secrets. "Ah, I see you've found the timepiece," he said, his voice low and raspy. "It has quite the history, you know." Intrigued, Amelia felt a tingle of excitement. "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart racing slightly. "It belonged to a woman long ago," he began, his gaze distant, as if he were remembering a tale from a past life. "She was a gifted watchmaker. Legend has it, she infused a part of herself into every piece she created. Some say her spirit still lingers, watching over her work." Amelia felt a chill race down her spine as Mr. Ellis continued. "This watch was never meant to be sold. It was a family heirloom, passed down for generations. But it has been quiet for too long, waiting for someone who could hear its call." As he spoke, Amelia felt an overwhelming urge to own the watch. It felt like a connection to her grandmother, who had always cherished the past and taught Amelia to appreciate the beauty in the forgotten. The watch could be a symbol of her journey, a reminder of the stories she had yet to write. After a brief negotiation, she purchased the watch, her heart swelling with anticipation. As she stepped outside the shop, the chill of the afternoon air bit at her cheeks, but she didn't mind. There was something electric about her new acquisition, a thrill that coursed through her veins. Yet, as she walked, a nagging doubt crept into her mind. Was this truly a treasure, or merely a relic weighed down by the sorrow of its past? The moment she reached home, Amelia placed the watch on her desk, admiring its craftsmanship under the soft glow of her desk lamp. The hands were still, frozen at a certain time. Was it an hour of significance? For a moment, she felt as if she were being watched, the room thick with an unspoken presence. She shook off the thought, attributing it to her imagination and the eeriness of the shop. As night fell, she curled up on her couch, a notebook in her lap, determined to find inspiration. The watch, now resting beside her, became the focal point of her thoughts. There was an allure to its stillness, a mystery that begged to be unraveled. Yet, a deep-seated anxiety began to form within her as she scribbled notes. What had Mr. Ellis meant by waiting for someone who could hear its call? She glanced at the watch. Its surface gleamed under the lamplight, but its hands remained motionless, almost mocking her efforts to understand. Little did she know, the true story was just beginning, and the watch would soon reveal its secrets in ways she could never have imagined. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of her journey, intertwined with the threads of time that the antique watch would weave into her life. Amelia, a seeker of stories, was about to embark on a path that would test her courage, challenge her beliefs, and force her to confront the very essence of time and legacy. As days turned into weeks, the antique watch became more than just a decorative piece on Amelia's desk. It transformed into a source of inspiration and a catalyst for reflection. Every time she glanced at it, she felt an unexplainable connection, as if it were urging her to delve deeper into the stories around her, both those of her past and the narratives yet to unfold. The quiet evenings she spent writing gradually became a meditative ritual. Amelia found herself crafting stories inspired by the intricacies of life, weaving together tales of love, loss, and the passage of time. She poured her heart onto the pages, driven by an urgency to capture fleeting moments before they slipped away like grains of sand through her fingers. The watch, with its still hands and hidden history, served as her muse, guiding her to reflect on her own life and the memories of her grandmother. Amelia's bond with the watch deepened with each passing day, but so did the weight of her grandmother's absence. While she cherished her memories, she often grappled with feelings of loneliness that crept in during quiet moments. To fill the void, she began volunteering at a local community center, where she taught writing workshops to children. It was here that Amelia met Oliver, a passionate young boy with an affinity for storytelling. His bright eyes sparkled with creativity, and he possessed a natural ability to captivate those around him with his imaginative tales. Oliver's enthusiasm reignited a spark in Amelia that she thought had dulled. They quickly formed a bond over their shared love of stories. She became a mentor to him, encouraging his creative pursuits while also learning from his youthful perspective. In Oliver, she saw a reflection of her younger self, a child who found solace in writing, much like her grandmother had nurtured in her. The duo often spent hours together, crafting elaborate stories that transcended their everyday lives. Their adventures took them beyond the confines of the community center, exploring local parks, where they would set up makeshift writing sessions beneath the sprawling branches of ancient trees. They often spoke of dreams, fears, and the stories that seemed to hover just out of reach, waiting to be discovered. Oliver's laughter and boundless energy brought a warmth to Amelia's heart, easing the burden of her grief. But as their bond grew, so did Amelia's sense of responsibility for Oliver. She learned about his struggles at home. He often faced challenges with his single mother, who worked tirelessly to make ends meet. Despite her efforts, Oliver sometimes felt neglected, caught in the chaos of adulthood that surrounded him. Amelia felt a wave of empathy for the boy, remembering how her own grandmother had shielded her from the harsh realities of life. She began to feel a sense of purpose, like she was not just shaping Oliver's stories, but also providing him a safe haven, a place where he could dream freely. However, one rainy afternoon, their serene world was abruptly shattered. Amelia had just picked Oliver up for their usual writing session when he received a phone call from his mother, her voice trembling on the other end. A sudden crisis had unfolded. His mother had lost her job, and they were facing financial instability. The weight of the news settled heavily on Oliver's shoulders, and Amelia watched helplessly as his eyes filled with tears. "Why does everything have to be so hard?" he whispered, his voice cracking. Amelia felt her heart break for him, the boy who had brought so much joy to her life. The innocence of his dreams clashed violently with the reality of his situation, leaving both of them grappling for answers. In that moment, Amelia's resolve solidified. She decided to do whatever it took to help Oliver and his family. The next day, she returned to the antique shop where she had first found the watch. Mr. Ellis was there, his expression contemplative as he polished a tarnished silver tea set. "Amelia," he greeted, his voice warm yet knowing. "Back so soon? That watch seems to have ignited quite the spark in you." "It has," she admitted, her tone a mix of excitement and urgency. "But I need your help. I want to raise money for a friend who's going through a tough time. Is there any way we can sell some of the antiques here?" Mr. Ellis regarded her with a thoughtful expression. "You're willing to part with what you've cherished for the sake of another? That speaks volumes about your character." They spent hours sorting through various pieces, selecting items that could garner interest. Amelia felt a mixture of apprehension and determination. She wanted to honor the watch's legacy, while also creating new stories for those who needed it most. Over the next few weeks, Amelia organized a community fundraiser at the antique shop, inviting locals to browse the collection and donate what they could. She poured her heart into promoting the event, sharing Oliver's story and the importance of community support. The watch, her silent companion, felt alive in her pocket, a reminder of the connection she had forged with Oliver and the resilience they were building together. The day of the fundraiser arrived, and the shop buzzed with activity. Amelia felt a surge of hope as people perused the antiques, admiring the stories each piece held. She watched as Oliver mingled with other children, his spirits lifted by the sense of purpose they were creating together. But just as the event reached its peak, a sudden commotion erupted outside the shop. Amelia rushed to the window, her heart pounding. A group of teenagers had gathered, causing a ruckus and seemingly mocking the antiques on display. Her stomach twisted as she feared for the fragile items and the hard work she had put into this day. In that moment, Amelia felt a wave of protectiveness wash over her. Without thinking, she stepped outside, her voice steady but firm. "This isn't just junk. These items are filled with history and stories. Please show some respect." To her surprise, the teens paused, a flicker of confusion crossing their faces. Yet one of them, a tall boy with an attitude to match, sneered. "What's the big deal? It's just old stuff." Amelia stood tall, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. These old things are treasures that tell the stories of people who lived and loved long before us. They deserve to be treated with dignity, just as we all do. Oliver, sensing the tension, stepped beside her, his small frame brimming with courage. "Yeah, they're not just things. They're part of our history. You wouldn't want someone disrespecting your things, would you?" There was a moment of silence, a strange pause that felt like a collective breath being held. Amelia's heart raced, but she felt an unyielding strength in Oliver's words. Slowly, the boy's bravado faltered, and he turned to his friends, who exchanged uncertain glances. With a huff, he finally shrugged. "Whatever," he muttered, and the group dissipated, leaving behind a stunned silence. Amelia turned to Oliver, who looked up at her with wide, proud eyes. In that moment, they shared a bond forged in bravery, a connection that transcended their individual struggles. They had stood together, faced adversity, and emerged unscathed, stronger than before. As the fundraiser continued, Amelia realized that the antique watch had not only been a catalyst for her creativity, but had also brought her and Oliver closer, intertwining their lives in ways she had never anticipated. They were no longer just mentor and student. They were allies in a shared journey, bound by the stories they told and the lives they touched. Through laughter and tears, through challenges and triumphs, they discovered the true power of connection, one that could withstand the test of time and change the course of their lives forever. As the weeks passed following the successful fundraiser, Amelia and Oliver grew inseparable, united by their shared love for storytelling and the bond forged through their trials. Yet, just as Amelia had begun to feel a sense of stability, the delicate threads of her life began to unravel. The antique watch, once a source of inspiration, now sat heavy in her pocket, an ominous reminder of the mysteries that surrounded it. One evening, while working on a new story, Amelia found herself distracted by the watch's unrelenting stillness. It had not moved since the day she purchased it, and the thought nagged at her. She wondered if it held secrets that needed to be unlocked. Was it truly just a relic of the past, or did it possess a deeper connection to her? Driven by curiosity, she reached for it and flipped it over, revealing a hidden engraving on the back, a delicate pattern intertwined with strange symbols. As she traced the intricate designs with her fingers, a wave of warmth washed over her, and the familiar chill returned. The air around her thickened, as though the room were holding its breath. Suddenly, the ticking resumed, steady and rhythmic, echoing in the silence like a heartbeat. But when she looked at the watch, she saw the hands were still frozen at that same hour. Amelia's heart raced, caught between fascination and fear. Could it be that the watch was trying to communicate? Perhaps it was a sign, something more than just a timepiece. Yet, she pushed the thought aside, convincing herself it was simply her imagination running wild. With a heavy sigh, she placed it back on the desk, the moment haunting her as she tried to focus on her writing. The next day, during their usual session at the community center, Oliver arrived with an unusual heaviness in his demeanor. His bright smile was replaced with a frown that sent a jolt of concern through Amelia. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with worry. "My mom got a notice today," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "We might lose our apartment. The landlord is raising the rent, and she doesn't know how we'll pay it." Amelia's heart sank. The harsh reality of Oliver's situation hit her hard, a reminder of the fragility of their dreams. The pressure of being a young boy carrying such a burden was evident in the shadows that danced across his face. "I'm so sorry, Oliver," she said softly, reaching for his hand, wanting to comfort him, to somehow ease the pain he felt. "I don't want to move away from here," he confessed, tears pooling in his eyes. "This place, the stories, they mean everything to me." In that moment, Amelia understood the weight of the responsibility that lay before her. They had built a sanctuary together, a world filled with imagination and hope, and she couldn't bear to see it slip away from him. The idea of Oliver losing his home ignited a fire in her. She couldn't let this happen. "I promise, we'll figure something out," Amelia reassured him, her mind racing with possibilities. "Maybe we can organize another fundraiser, or I could reach out to some local businesses for help." Oliver looked up at her, hope flickering in his eyes like a candle against the dark. "You really think that could work?" he asked, a tremor of uncertainty in his voice. "Absolutely. We'll get the community involved again. They rallied for you before. They'll do it again." Amelia smiled, trying to convey a confidence she didn't fully feel. But as they began planning their next steps, another layer of tension crept into Amelia's life. Her editor at the magazine had been growing impatient with her recent articles, each one tinged with a sense of nostalgia and melancholy that seemed to lack the energy and engagement that readers craved. Amelia received an email one afternoon that rattled her, a warning that if her next piece didn't resonate, she might face the consequences. Amelia felt the ground shift beneath her feet, the weight of expectations pressing heavily on her chest. She could hardly focus on her writing, the impending deadline looming over her like a storm cloud. As the days passed, her stress levels escalated, and the antique watch, once a source of inspiration, now felt like a reminder of her failures. With the community fundraiser approaching, Amelia struggled to keep her emotions in check. She wanted to be strong for Oliver, to be the anchor he needed, but she felt like she was floundering in a sea of uncertainty. Each time she glanced at the watch, it seemed to mock her, its hands still frozen, as if caught in a moment of despair. The night before the fundraiser, Amelia sat in her apartment, the weight of her worries hanging heavy in the air. She stared at the watch, its polished surface gleaming under the soft light, but instead of inspiration, all she felt was fear. Fear of failing Oliver, fear of losing her job, and fear of the unknown future that loomed ahead. In a moment of frustration, she stood up and hurled the watch across the room. It struck the wall with a resounding thud, the sound reverberating through her silence. As it hit the ground, the watch sprang open, the cover revealing a beautifully intricate mechanism inside. Amelia gasped, stepping closer, the anger in her heart replaced by awe. Suddenly, the ticking began again, louder and more insistent than before. The hands twitched, and for a brief moment, time seemed to distort around her. As she reached down to pick it up, her fingers brushed against the cold metal, and a jolt of energy surged through her body. Images flooded her mind, visions of the past, of her grandmother's laughter, the moments they had shared, and the stories that had been passed down through generations. In that instant, clarity washed over her. The watch was not just an object. It was a vessel of memories, a reminder of the strength that resided within her. It symbolized resilience, the ability to endure and create amidst chaos. With renewed determination, Amelia picked up the watch and cradled it in her hands. She understood now that this was her turning point. The crisis she faced was not just about Oliver's situation or her job. It was about reclaiming her narrative. She could channel the emotions that swirled within her into something powerful. The next day, as the community gathered for the fundraiser, Amelia felt a sense of purpose surging through her. She had spent the night drafting an article about the importance of community support, emphasizing the stories that connected them all. The antique watch rested against her heart, a talisman of strength and inspiration. As Oliver arrived, his face brightened at the sight of the crowd, his excitement contagious. Together, they worked tirelessly, sharing their passion for storytelling with those who came to support. The air was thick with laughter and hope, a collective energy that reminded Amelia why they had embarked on this journey in the first place. But amidst the joy, the realities of their struggles loomed in the background. The fundraiser was not merely about raising money. It was about rallying a community around a shared cause, igniting a spark of hope in the face of adversity. With every story shared, every smile exchanged, Amelia felt the weight of her worries begin to lift. The antique watch, once a symbol of her fears, transformed into a beacon of strength. As the day unfolded, she realized that they were not just fighting against loss. They were celebrating resilience, the power of connection, and the stories that intertwined their lives. The crisis had brought them to this moment, a turning point where they could either succumb to despair or rise together, forging a path filled with hope and courage. And as Amelia looked at Oliver, she saw not just a young boy in need of support, but a partner in storytelling, a friend who had the power to inspire her just as much as she had inspired him. With the echoes of laughter surrounding her, Amelia knew they were on the brink of something extraordinary, a journey that would test their limits, deepen their bond, and ultimately reveal the strength they both held within. The fundraiser proved to be an unexpected success, far beyond Amelia's hopes. As the last few attendees trickled out of the antique shop, their hearts filled with gratitude and warmth, Amelia felt a rush of exhilaration. The air buzzed with excitement, the kind that wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. They had not only raised enough money to help Oliver's family cover their rent, but had also fostered a renewed sense of community spirit, a collective acknowledgement of the power of connection through stories. As Amelia and Oliver began to clean up, the boy's eyes sparkled with joy. "Did you see how many people came?" he exclaimed, his voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "They really care about our stories." "Yes, they do," Amelia replied, her heart swelling with pride. "And it's all because you inspired them. Your stories matter, Oliver." While they stacked chairs and collected empty cups, the weight of Oliver's burdens seemed to lift. With the financial pressure eased, he allowed himself to dream again, his laughter ringing like music in the space around them. It was a sound Amelia had longed to hear, a melody that signified hope and renewal. But as they prepared to leave the shop, Amelia felt a pull toward the antique watch resting on the counter. Its polished surface glimmered softly in the fading light, a reminder of the journey they had undertaken together. She picked it up, feeling its cool weight in her palm, and wondered about the stories it had witnessed, the lives it had touched. The watch had been the catalyst for their connection, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. "Hey, Oliver," she said, turning to him, "I want to give you something." Oliver's eyes widened with curiosity. "What is it?" Amelia held out the watch, the delicate craftsmanship capturing the boy's attention. "This watch has been a part of my journey, and I think it deserves to be part of yours now. It's a reminder of how far we've come and how much strength we have within us." Oliver's mouth fell open in surprise, disbelief etched across his features. "You want me to have it?" "Absolutely," she said, her voice steady and warm. "You've taught me just as much as I've taught you. You're an incredible storyteller, and I want you to carry this with you as you write your own stories." With trembling hands, Oliver took the watch, his expression a mix of gratitude and wonder. "I promise I'll take care of it," he said earnestly. "It'll be a part of my stories forever." As they walked out into the cool evening air, Amelia felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The challenges they had faced together had forged an unbreakable bond, one that would transcend time and distance. The watch, now resting in Oliver's pocket, felt like a torch being passed from one storyteller to another. Days turned into weeks, and life resumed its familiar rhythm. Oliver thrived in school, his confidence bolstered by the success of the fundraiser. He poured his energy into writing, his stories infused with a newfound sense of purpose and excitement. Amelia watched with pride as he blossomed, his creativity flourishing like the first blooms of spring after a long winter. However, the deeper layers of the watch's mystery lingered in Amelia's mind. The strange engraving on the back still intrigued her, and she found herself drawn to it during quiet moments, contemplating its meaning. She decided to seek out Mr. Ellis at the antique shop, hoping he could shed light on its history. One afternoon, she arrived at the shop, the familiar scent of aged wood and polished metal enveloping her. Mr. Ellis was busy arranging a display of vintage jewelry when she approached him. "Amelia, it's good to see you again," he said, his face lighting up with recognition. "How has your writing been?" "It's been great, actually. I've been inspired in ways I never expected," she replied, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "But I'm curious about something. I wanted to know more about the watch I bought from you. There's an engraving on the back that I can't quite understand." Mr. Ellis's expression shifted. His interest piqued. "Ah, the watch. It holds quite a tale indeed. Let me see it." Amelia handed him the watch, her heart racing with anticipation. He examined it closely, tracing the symbols with his finger. This watch belonged to a renowned author many years ago. He was known for writing stories that intertwined reality and fantasy, often exploring the themes of time and memory. "Is that so?" Amelia leaned in, captivated. "What happened to him?" "He lived a full life, but believed that the stories we tell have the power to shape our reality. Before he passed, he imbued the watch with a piece of his essence, hoping it would inspire future generations of storytellers." Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she processed his words. The watch was not merely an antique. It was a vessel of inspiration, a reminder that their stories could indeed alter the fabric of reality. "So, it really does hold a special significance?" she asked, her heart racing. "Absolutely. It carries the weight of dreams, and those who possess it are meant to share their stories," he replied, returning the watch to her. "You seem to have a deep understanding of that already, Amelia. You're a storyteller, after all." With newfound conviction, Amelia thanked Mr. Ellis and left the shop, the watch nestled securely in her pocket. The encounter reignited a flame within her, a realization that her writing could transcend personal struggles and connect with others in profound ways. She decided to host a community storytelling night at the center, inviting people of all ages to share their tales. The event would celebrate their diverse experiences, uniting them through the power of words. With the antique watch as her muse, she poured her heart into organizing the event, crafting promotional materials, and rallying the community. As the day approached, Amelia felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. She wanted the storytelling night to be a success, a celebration of the human experience and the connections that bind them. She envisioned the stories that would fill the room, tales of joy, sorrow, triumph, and heartbreak. Finally, the evening arrived. The community center buzzed with energy, the walls adorned with colorful banners and fairy lights that danced in the soft glow. Chairs were arranged in a circle, a cozy space where people could gather and share their stories. Amelia felt her heart race as she welcomed the attendees, each face reflecting anticipation and hope. As the night unfolded, Amelia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over her. Each story shared was a thread woven into the fabric of their community, an acknowledgement of their shared humanity. Oliver took the stage, his face glowing with pride as he recounted tales of adventure and imagination. His confidence shone brightly, captivating the audience with his passion and creativity. When it was Amelia's turn, she felt a wave of nervousness wash over her. She stood before the crowd, the antique watch clutched tightly in her hand. This watch has inspired me to remember the power of stories, she began, her voice steadying. It reminds me that we are all storytellers in our own right, and our experiences deserve to be heard. As she shared her journey, her words flowed effortlessly, weaving together the threads of her past, her connection to Oliver, and the transformative power of community. The room was filled with rapt attention, each person hanging onto her every word. In that moment, Amelia understood the true purpose of her journey, not only to tell her own stories, but to create a platform for others to share theirs. The night concluded with a standing ovation, and the atmosphere was charged with a sense of belonging. Amelia felt the warmth of the community surrounding her, a testament to the connections they had forged through storytelling. In that moment, she realized that the journey they had embarked upon was not just about overcoming struggles, but about celebrating the strength found in vulnerability and the beauty of shared experiences. As the crowd dispersed, Oliver rushed over to her, his eyes sparkling with admiration. "You were amazing, Amelia. I'm so proud of you." "Thank you, Oliver," she replied, pulling him into a tight embrace. "You were incredible up there, too. I couldn't have done this without you." With the watch nestled safely in her pocket, Amelia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that their stories would continue to intertwine, shaping their lives in ways they had yet to discover. The antique watch was a constant reminder of the resilience they shared and the strength that came from vulnerability. In the months that followed, the community storytelling night became a regular event, each gathering drawing more people into their circle of shared experiences. Amelia continued to mentor Oliver, guiding him in his writing while nurturing his talents and dreams. Together, they created a tapestry of stories that resonated far beyond the walls of the community center. As they faced new challenges, Oliver's family navigating financial hurdles and Amelia's own struggles with her career, they did so hand in hand, their bond growing stronger with each trial. The antique watch, once a symbol of uncertainty, now served as a powerful reminder of their resilience and the stories that connected them all. In a moment of reflection one evening, Amelia stood by her window, gazing at the night sky. She could almost hear the soft ticking of the watch, a gentle reminder of the passage of time and the importance of embracing each moment. As she continued to write, Amelia knew that their journey was far from over. With Oliver by her side and the antique watch guiding her, she was ready to face whatever came next, armed with the knowledge that their stories would forever weave their lives together, creating a legacy of hope, resilience, and inspiration for generations to come. As the story of Amelia and Oliver reminds us, the power of storytelling can connect us all in profound ways. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more captivating stories that inspire, intrigue, and entertain, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Join our community of storytellers and explore the mysteries that await in every narrative. Your next favorite story is just a click away. Don't miss out.